Welcome back to the Hello Hair Pro podcast. My name is Todd.
I'm Jen.
And we are the owners of Hello Hair Co. in Southern New Hampshire, our salon. And Hello Hair Pro is our sort of second initiative.
Yes.
So here we are. Welcome back to our podcast. If you're a listener and if you're here for the first time, thanks. Welcome. All right. What are we talking about today?
We are talking about pricing structure.
Amazing. I love this topic. Let's do it.
It's a good one.
So, where to start? Let's start with what most of the industry uses, which is, I haven't been to every salon or barbershop, but
Majority.
the majority, I'm going to guess, are a la carte pricing.
Correct.
Why?
I think it's because it's what's always been done.
And that's the worst reason to do something. That's my take on.
Yes.
I don't know why people do so many things that are like, this is just the way it's been done. Mm-hmm. Doesn't even make sense. I don't know how you apply something to your business without questioning it.
I mean, I don't know what other businesses do. I would hope that they would be questioning it, but I don't know to what degree they're questioning it and what they're trying to get out of it. Maybe they're questioning it like what I did at my last salon, which was, well, they price like this, so we should price like that. Like that type of a thing. And I honestly, at the last salon I owned, I never...
Like they meaning other salons?
Other salons.
Other businesses?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, sure.
I think the question becomes into what do we price our services at? And that's pretty much, I would imagine, what most look at. I know for me, with my first salon, we just looked at what was my haircut before, what should it be now, and then what are other people doing and where do we want to compare ourselves within that. I didn't think there were other ways. I shouldn't say that. I was aware there were other ways. I had actually been following some salons that were kind of doing, this was more in the middle of owning that last salon, that were doing some more inclusive pricing, where the industry sort of changed and glosses and glazes and toners, whatever you call it, sort of were your go-to for every single client, but not every client wants to pay for it. So I would see some salons that were just now including that in the price. And I was like, how do you even do that? I don't even know if they knew if they were doing it correctly, but they were doing that. And
Maybe.
I think that sort of is where I started to open my mind up on some of the things that should be included in what you do, or at least be able to be done if you need to do it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if it just went down like a rabbit hole there.
No.
But I would have never, being in the industry for as long as I have, 23, 62 years, we all joke.
62.
I never thought of another way to do it. It was just more like, well, how do I make it so I can include these things? Not thinking there are other ways to structure pricing that benefits the business, the client, and the service provider. Like I didn't know that there was other options like that.
So one of the things that I love to do is to steal as many things as I can. But so I love to look around at other industries and steal what they're doing better than we do. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I immediately noticed when I came on, or identified when I came on at your last salon, was that the pricing structure made no sense.
Correct.
It was full of confusion for the guest, massive confusion for the employees, and obviously now looking back or talking to you, confusion from even the ownership. Mm-hmm. So I started to look around at industries that people don't question the pricing, because that seemed to be the number one thing I guess I noticed. Like clients never knew what it was going to cost them. Stylists never knew how to charge. Mm-hmm. Why is it so not clear? So unclear? Not clear?
Both.
Either way.
I mean, I could go into a slew of things.
Why is it so unclear? So I always use a lawyer, for example. Your lawyer's rate is your rate. Doesn't matter what you're doing. They don't care if you're getting a divorce or they're looking over your lease.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then
their
your
rate's
initial
their rate because it's their time.
Initial consult, it's very clear that this is my rate and it's going to take me probably around this amount of time and this is what it looks like. So you understand where you're going, like what you're going to be paying, right, for your budget. Couldn't get the word budget out. And I have dealt with lawyers recently, a good amount. And it's cool because I, like the one firm that I was dealing with, you know, the owner's rate, who I really admired and would have loved to have worked with him, but was definitely out of my budget for what looked like was going to take more time than I could afford to pay. So he introduced me to somebody that's hourly rate would work better for the budget I had set forth, or for, there was a lot of unforeseen things that we couldn't control. And it was just like, sure. I think, you know, you're going to go here and this is how we're going to do that. And he did it in a way that was like, okay, I trust you, and it made sense.
Cool. So at our salon, we charge hourly.
Yes.
But when I was at your last salon, I didn't have that language. I didn't know exactly what it looked like, even though it's so simple.
Right.
I ran through, I think I looked at like a mechanic. So a mechanic would have an hourly rate for their labor plus parts.
Right.
So I sort of explored some of those options. And it was still not, like, I like elegant solutions where it's just, this is how it is.
Simple.
Very simple. So,
and the more simple you can make it, let's be honest here, if I put my owner hat on right now as an owner, the more simple we make it, the less questions we get from the staff, which means they now have creative control to just do their work because they understand the parameters of where they're going and what they're doing.
Right.
With a la carte pricing, I would get a lot of questions, and then the pricing would be all over
all
the
the
place.
time. How do you price this? How do you price that?
And honestly, I would even answer them differently depending on the day I felt. I still wasn't even clear with my answer because I was confused on that one, and those were questions that needed to get avoided. Like, it needed to be very clear so we could just let them do their job.
Mm-hmm. So now that we have hourly pricing, I want to go through the benefits.
Okay.
Do you have any particular one you want to start on? I had it's transparent and on it. I just answered for you.
That was great. I like it.
Do you have any
if you
points
didn't know,
you
we've been married 14 years
today.
I don't know
Happy
when
anniversary.
This will go on. Happy anniversary.
It
So,
won't go out today.
Sometimes when you've been together as long as we have, you can answer for people.
So
we have the same answers here either way.
So hourly pricing, it's transparent and it's honest. And that's one of the things that is important to us at Hello, integrity.
I was just going to say it, the integrity part. So what drew me towards hourly pricing was truly the integrity part. And with it being so clear and concise and simple, you couldn't hide stuff in that. And I say that because here's my story. What I've seen people do in the past, and I don't even think, some I think do it on purpose. Some I just think they don't know better.
Many do it on purpose.
But yeah, I was trying to be nice. A lot of people do it on purpose.
Don't be nice, be honest.
So I'll tell two stories. What I see is the stylist that's trying to meet numbers and goals, and they don't have a full schedule of clients. And that day they realize like they're way off for their goals. And that when I say that, I mean they get goals from their owners or their managers, who's ever above them, and that's how they get raises and that's how they move ahead. So when they're not meeting those goals or they don't have enough clients, they look at one client and they think, what services can I add on to this day and make this person pay for all of these services? So my ticket total is higher. My gratuity is higher because most people tip on a percent. And now I might hit my total goals to hit my numbers to get my raise. But not necessarily did that client need all those services. And they don't always know. If my head is in a shampoo bowl and you tell me I need a toner and a conditioning treatment, I trust that you're taking care of my hair to its best integrity and not just trying to add services onto my ticket. But what I know from the backside of the industry is more often than not, those servicers are putting on your ticket because they're just trying to make that ticket total higher. And hourly takes that out of the equation. How long does it take? And
period.
Here we are. And it makes a very, very easy consultation. My next story is that I've seen people, if you come in and you are all put together and you've got your really nice purse and all that, you're going to get charged what that person should be charging. So if you get your single process and you get your partial foil and you get your haircut, you're getting charged all of that. Now, the next person comes in and they may not have the nice purse, or they're not all put together, and somehow they've been judged that they shouldn't be charged for their single process and their partial foil and their haircut. So they end up charging them. And I'm sure clients right now, if any of you are listening, are like, oh my gosh, for either what's called a color foil or a single process and a few foils. But you might have had the exact same service that the client had before you, but you got charged differently. And to me, the integrity part is like, why? Why is one getting a deal and one is not when they got the exact same service? And hourly takes that off the equation, off the table. Every single person that sits in any chair in our building, in our salon, they get charged whatever that hourly rate is for the person they're sitting with, and it's very clear. And if they need to add on a service, how long does that take? And that's the price you pay. And every person that sits in their chair that it takes that long pays the same.
So they're paying. So clients are paying for the time.
Yeah,
they're paying for the time.
I could have said it that way, but I like my stories.
No, stories are great. That they stick with people. I've heard them before.
Yeah, I tell them
and
often.
They are good. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think
Is that so? Actually, something just popped in my head. Is that why a lot of salon service menus are so fucking confusing? There's like 900 items. Is that so that the stylist can then move around and put people where they need to? This is far too
I
many
don't even know
options.
why. I said, yeah, I don't have a clue. I'm not sure. I think what comes down to it is, and now
Because I don't care what you call it.
Yeah, so listen.
Color foil, full foil, half foil. I don't care.
This is what started.
How long is it going to take you?
Right. So our hourly pricing is something that we did this year. It's not when we first opened. So the other problem I was running into in stylists, you can probably really relate to this, and maybe owners you can too. But this, with all the new techniques coming out, we have balayage, we have teasy lights, we have baby lights, all of these things. And so somebody would do a full head of whatever lights you want to call that. And then like, do I charge them for balayage or do I charge them for a foil or do I charge them? What I would see sometime is I'm going to charge them for a full foil and a partial balayage because I did both of those. And I'm like, whoa, what? Like, just do the full head and you can add in the full foil with some baby lights and teasy lights all in one. And with hourly, it became very simple. Whatever is the new service that's coming out, whatever is the coolest trend we're doing, now our service providers can do all of what they need to do and not worry about, should I charge for this or charge extra for that? They just know how long it takes them.
How do you charge for the roots? How do you charge to
yeah,
tap this?
it was so many things.
How do you charge to smudge that?
Or do I charge
Who fucking cares?
Yeah, if I pull the color through, do I charge it as
How
a
long does it
glaze
take?
or another single process? And you would see they'd have to go back and look at the history because they didn't know which service they charged them for. And if it was more clear and concise and transparent, that wouldn't even be a thing. You just knew how long it took you. And this is where I started to get tripped up because I'm like, everybody's getting charged differently and it all depends on what you feel like charging them that day. And we have to take the emotional part out of that because that's where it gets really dicey.
So one of the things that sort of piggybacks on that is that it's comprehensive.
Correct.
So that now the client doesn't have to wonder, what was that, a door? The clients don't have to wonder about the range. Mm-hmm. They don't have to, or the stylist now.
Yes, price varies, right?
Right, price varies, or a range, or, well, I don't know how many extra bowls I'll need of color or whatever. It's comprehensive. Everything's included. The price is the price. Come on in. If it's going to take the stylist 2 hours and their hourly rate is $100, it's $200. Mm-hmm. 100 times 2, 200.
Whatever they can do in that time.
Whatever they can do in that time is covered.
And I do feel, again, what I loved about it is from a stylist perspective, you're not in the business to have to, it's like when you go to restaurants, market price or this or that. You know, sitting down, you're going to ask, well, what does that cost? But a stylist, you're here to just be creative and do your work. So when it comes into price, if you are not talking about that in the consultation or you forget to mention it, and then you go to check them out and you realize like they were booked for a single process haircut blow dry, and let's say that's $200 for you. And then you did foils and an eyebrow wax and a color gloss, and now you're at almost $300. When you are bringing that client up to the front, I've seen this happen very often. You're running out back, hiding. The receptionist has to now take care of discussing your new consultation that you didn't have at the chair about the price. And you're like, I hope they don't complain. I hope they don't complain. And then you run out once the client's gone and you ask that front person, like, did they say anything? What did they say? And they may have not complained because they just paid it and they're pissed off. They might still be processing it, but either way, it's not fair. And like you...
No, it's not. It's not fair to the front desk either, which is why we don't have one.
Yes. Yeah.
We don't even have a front desk.
because you have to be clear, concise, consult, and
Honest.
stand behind what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah, and no running from your client. And this way, it's very clear what their price is. And it's very easy to consult that and then just do your work.
Great.
Great. Sorry if my bracelets keep jingling.
It's wicked annoying.
I know. I just realized.
All of that shit you just talked about is so confusing, and it doesn't have to be that way.
I know.
It's so awful.
And it's so
especially when
normal.
it comes to raising prices. So when you raise your price, you're raising your haircut $5. You're raising a glaze 50 cents. You're raising your
All over the
balayage,
place.
whatever the fuck, like $10, whatever.
Yeah. $7.25.
And I'm going to guess that those aren't based on anything other than what someone else is doing, an arbitrary percent that you haven't really looked into, or
I
just,
hope it's
you're
at least
just
a
guessing.
percent. So at least there's like some math to it.
I doubt it. I've looked at some
Okay.
some menus,
I
and
said- I said hope.
the pricing doesn't line up. So the other thing that this pricing structure does that I love too is it gets rid of all the sort of discriminatory based pricing. So there is no gender based pricing. There's no age based pricing.
A haircut's a haircut.
The time is the time, period.
And let me tell you, majority of people don't want to do kids cuts because the price is so low. It's not worth it for them. So what this does in our salon is if you bring your child in, they get treated amazingly because they're paying the same price that anyone else sits in their chair, and they're getting truly a service. And that is amazing. I feel like those children or kids, whatever, because I mean, little or medium size they are, they're not getting rushed. They're getting the time. And the person that's doing it truly wants to do it. That's the other thing in our salon, though. You get to decide what services you do. So if you don't want to do certain things, you're not doing it. So anyone that's doing a service on you loves what that service is because they've chosen to do that.
Gotcha. So I love that stuff. I've told this story a few times, but we got a call from
I love this
a female who has short hair, prefers to sit with a barber.
Yes.
Calls on the phone. I book them with one of our barbers. And then she says, I have like an odd question or an uncomfortable question. And I said, maybe not, but let's have it. Let's see what I can do. So she tells me that she booked with another barber. I don't know if it was in town or local or whatever. It doesn't matter. And when she got there, they flipped the price on her. So it went from like, $25 or $30 or whatever to like $60.
Barber haircut to woman's haircut.
And they said to her, well, you're a woman. Mm-hmm. What? Mm-hmm. So that might have been the last straw sort of deal for me, getting that phone call that day, because I was like, why are people being treated differently? Why are women paying more?
So,
well, they have more hair.
Around that same time, my flip the switch was when one of our clients had been in, let's say 2 months prior, and she's younger. Her mom called for her and was like, I don't even know how to explain this, but her daughter now doesn't identify. So like, I need to book a haircut for I don't know what she called her, but for my child, let's say. And so Todd was like, Jen, how do I book this? I don't see the person in here. It's like,
oh, she had changed her name though.
Is that what it was?
Yes, I couldn't.
And she now unidentified, and so it was like, do I book it as a woman's cut or a men's cut? I don't know what to do here because there's no identification involved. And I'm like, this is so confusing. I knew who it was, so I'm like, let's just book it like this. But this is where it started to be like, yeah, if there's a gender-free pricing, it doesn't matter. I don't have to worry about where that goes and how this movement is trending because our haircut's a haircut. So you're just going to be treated the same no matter male, female, unidentified. Matter. It didn't matter.
Right.
And that was a flip the switch moment. Plus that haircut that you were talking about. I had those moments at my last salon where it was like, well, I'm cutting this woman's hair, but it's more like a men's cut because it doesn't take me as long. And it became about this time conversation again, but yet we were still charging based on the service. So Anyway, that was my flip the switch.
I think one of the things I see a lot of salons and shops on social media that are like, we're inclusive, everyone's welcome here, but you have to pick male or female so that we know how to charge you. You're not inclusive. You're just bullshitting on social media.
You're just trying to be trendy.
Trying to be trendy and ride the trend, but you're not actually stepping up and doing anything about it.
Right. Well, they're in that phase where there's no action being taken.
Slacktivism.
They're just saying what they're doing, but they're not actually doing it. And as a society, I always say, challenge everybody. So if
and
you
there's
go
still
in
time.
there,
If you're one of those owners listening,
yeah,
change it. Reach out. I want to help you.
yeah, and be authentic, right? If you're saying you're doing X, Y, and Z, look at what you're saying, and are you actually taking the action to do that? And if you're not, then either you need to start or stop saying you're doing certain things that you're not actually doing.
So hourly pricing, we went over the genders. We went over that it includes or ages. We went over that it's inclusive. It's transparent.
Yep.
It's comprehensive. It's the same price for any service. So it doesn't matter. My time is my time. And that's really what we should be charging for, because that's the way the world operates.
And with hourly pricing, we don't double book. That time is, I call it a session, is just for that client.
Right. Which is another bonus, because then you can actually spend time with your client.
Yeah.
If you need a break,
pull up
you're
a
not
stool, say hello.
Yeah, have a
Love it.
coffee, sit down. Maybe, how about this? How about use the bathroom and grab something to eat?
Yeah.
Because you don't have to grab your next client and apply color. So
I've only not been double booking now for the last couple months, and it was weird for me at first because I've done it for so long. But
62 years to be
62
exact.
years. One of the things that I love with this change and taking this action is I truly get to now focus on what I'm doing, be creative. And I didn't realize how stressed I would be when one client came in and I had one in between and one was running late. So to take that out, again,
I realized how stressed you
I
were.
know. Let's go back to being creative. You have this hourly pricing. It's clear. It's transparent. You get your one-on-one time with your client. They appreciate it. And as a stylist, you really start to like take a deep breath and start to enjoy what you're doing again. Maybe you still are. But for me, I felt like I was running around with a chicken with my head cut off. I looked like a crazy lady, even though I thought I looked like I was doing it all. But I looked like a spaz.
Well, that sort of hustle culture,
Yeah.
that's sort of glorified. Everyone's like, you have to grind.
Honestly,
you have to
I thought that's
do,
what...
I see barbers that are like, you have to do 40 haircuts a day. Fuck that.
I thought
don't wanna do
being
that.
successful, if you had asked me to define it, I don't know if I would have been able to, but looking back, I would have defined it on adding on all the services to all the clients all day long, being so tired at the end of the day, I can barely move and I'm exhausted. And I look at that mindset or that structure of even that pricing structure, and it creates that because it's add, and you're just flailing around all day. Where with this, it's like, with the hourly, it really just makes you, I feel like, hone in on what do you want to do, what is your clientele, and take a deep breath and enjoy your time with them while you provide an amazing service.
So the other thing I like about this, or one of the other things, the many things I like about hourly pricing, is that it's fair to the stylist or the barber.
Yes.
Because they have control over their time. They know if they are working a 5-hour shift, if they book 5 hours, they know their total. Problem solved.
Mm-hmm. And they also know if they're doing that consistently, what they're making for their salary at the end of the year.
Exactly.
Which is how
they figure out their
right.
Which is how we figure out their hourly rate. It's based on what they want to make. That's how fair it is to the stylist.
Yeah.
Now, they figure out what they want to specialize in, and then we help them. We do a lot of coaching. We talk about that a lot with our staff. So if you want to charge, if you're out of school and you want to charge $300 an hour, we're going to highly, strongly, firmly encourage you to not do that, because we want you to grow. And there's time to get there.
Yeah. And we've had to have those conversations as to why somebody might be starting at a lower hourly rate. And it's how quickly do you want to grow and how fast do you want to get where you want to be? And then you make your jumps along the way. So
actually, let's jump. This is jumping around in my notes a little bit, but that is a great point. So it gets rid of that stupid, I'm sorry for anybody that has this, but I'm just totally against this, the level system in salons.
Yeah.
I think that is a massive massive failure.
Yeah, I would agree. I had it at my last salon, and I'm with you. And we had it at the beginning of this salon. But I do think it puts people to feel like who's ever above them,
Oh my God.
like almost is
Stupid.
literally above them. And then like,
Which is not a
and
thing.
then those people, as they move up the levels, become entitled and are like, well, you know what? When I started out, I had to clean and do all that stuff. So now it's your turn. And now that I'm busy enough, I don't have to. And I don't
Toxic shit right there.
totally. And I don't think intentionally that's why people have it there.
GTFO.
But it's not good. And I saw it in my last salon. Like, it was like, well, I've now paved the way. I'm at my top level. So like, I can just peace out when I'm done. Like, no, we're a team. We do this. But the level system, I saw how it created, yes, that toxic environment. And just.
Well, it drives it. Yeah.
It's bad.
It also removes the other thing that I put on the same sort of category as levels, which is that cap, that ceiling.
Right.
So you have,
If you only have 9 levels, where do you go at level 9?
at level
You're
9, I'm
stuck
out of
there?
here.
Yeah.
This is all I can charge.
And so at
I'm
first,
done.
when we opened Hello, I tried this. You have so many levels, but your last level's open, so you can go as far as you want. And then it's like, what are we doing here? What's happening?
Still toxic.
Yeah. Yeah, because people would come to me like, isn't it time that my prices go up and this and that? And I'm like,
Right. And people believe that it's on time for some reason.
yeah.
Hey, it's been a year. My price should go up.
Or, hey, you hired 3 new people, so like my prices should go up, right?
Right. Yes.
And it was just like,
because it
what?
keeps people in that non-existent pecking order.
Yeah, and that's what it felt like. Like, well, now I'm not bottom of the totem pole, so I should be moved up. And instead with hourly, it's so clear, it's so transparent. You know, you just want to be booked a certain amount, and then you get your raise, and your raise is so simple to explain also.
So let's talk about that. First of all, the barber or stylist sets their hourly rate at our salon based on what they want to make.
Mm-hmm.
So let's use, for people listening that aren't exactly clear about what we're talking about, let's use 50% because it's easy math.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we pay, say, in this theoretical example, 50% commission. If somebody wants to make $50 an hour, they would charge $100 an hour to the client.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is because they get the 50%. The other 50% goes to the salon, covers all the fixed costs, covers all the products, covers all the bowls of color, covers all that stuff.
Covers your payroll,
Covers-
taxes.
right,
Like, there's
covers
so many
everything.
things.
Right.
Your rent, yeah.
Covers everything else.
Could keep going on and on that.
So one of the topics that frustrates people that are clients sometimes, frustrates employees, is the whole tipping.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. What do you want me to talk about?
So with the hourly pricing structure, we're gratuity free.
Yes.
What does that mean? That means that the salon business does not support gratuity or tipping.
Yeah.
It's
so you
not
can't
included. It's
Right.
not, so hourly pricing does not include tip. It's
And
not tip included.
I
There
would-
is no tip.
That's a really important.
And that is the part that I think a lot of people get stuck on.
Yeah.
Because before I let you go, a lot of clients, I think, will say, I don't like that. Or not a lot of clients. We haven't had a ton of negativity
No,
around
a
this.
few
but
just, I don't
a
like that my
few,
tip's included.
I don't
in
like
the
that my
price.
tip's included.
Because someone had said it the wrong way.
Right. It isn't included. There
No.
is no tip. That doesn't mean that the client can't still tip.
you.
I personally do my best to not accept tips.
Same.
I have on a couple occasions because I didn't want to hurt somebody's feelings because they're handing me money and they're explaining that they're grateful. And I
There's
just,
a point where you say thank you. You
yes,
don't make
I
them
have to say
comfortable.
thank you
Yeah.
because they're, you know, their love language or whatever
Yeah.
is gifts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't want to take away that
Yeah.
them giving.
Gratuity free or hourly pricing with gratuity free just means, so we used to have it was called Tippy, and that is another cost to the salon. Some people let you tip on a card. I stopped that a long time ago because that is detrimental to a business. You're just paying out more than you're taking in. But so what it does is you figure out your hourly rate, and the way we coach is, there it is. You know what you're going to make at the end of the year. And if people truly choose to give you a tip as an act of thankfulness, you can celebrate that and do what you want with it. But if you were to never get tipped again, how much money do you want to make? And this way too, it also takes away the saltiness of the tip that's not big enough. The person that whatever you charge them might have been the top of their budget and didn't have enough money to tip you. Because now when you go and you're checking them out, you are so proud of the work you did, of the price you're charging. If something extra goes on top of that, wow, celebrate it. And if not, you feel wonderful in the price that you charged and, the hours that you booked. And then we just say, if someone's like, oh, well, can I tip you? It's check or cash only. And that's between you and your stylist or service provider, your barber. I don't need to know about it. I don't care about it. It's truly from you to them. And you should go and find them and say thank you, because that will make their day.
And if you're somebody that wants to switch over to this model, I would strongly encourage you to avoid things like Venmo.
Yes.
I fucking hate Venmo. I say it all the time. Venmo was never designed to be a client to business way to move money. Mm-hmm. It is like a friend to friend. Like, oh, we split dinner. You owe me $10. 14 years later, still splitting dinner. So I spoke with Kurt, who is an enrolled agent. Is that what he is? I believe and he urged me.
He's an accountant too. So enrolled agent. Right. Someone listening is like, wait, what's that? An accountant.
Yeah. So he urged me to urge our staff to avoid any of those apps, because the IRS is not stupid. Mm-hmm. They are going to find you, and they have the right to request that documentation.
Yeah.
All that Venmo
and
stuff.
You owe taxes on all of that.
You owe not only taxes, but the fees that he described are probably going to end up costing you over double. So
not worth it.
Not worth it at all. Also, and I think a lot of independent stylists found this out, don't hide money and then expect to buy a house or a car,
right,
or whatever. Because you can't go back and then say to a bank, no, but I really made all this extra money.
Right.
Just show your money. And that's something that hourly pricing does. Our salon, here it is. This is that.
Agreed.
So also it helps. A lot of people say this too. We need to professionalize the industry.
Well, this is how you would do that.
Well,
it's very professional.
Have you ever seen a lawyer take a tip? Come on. It seems insane to me. The other thing that it does, hourly pricing, is it protects the business in a more strategic way, without having prices all over the place, fluctuating. Like, you could look at a day on the books in an average salon, and it could be full of, say, kids cuts one day. So everyone's working 10 hours. Actually, let's be realistic. Most salons, everyone's working 12 hours. Mm-hmm. Which is another toxic thing. But the salon's not making any money because they're doing services that are so poorly priced.
Yeah. You're losing.
Mm-hmm. So by having this, every time a person gives themselves a raise, and that's quite literally how it works, the salon gets a raise. Mm-hmm. And now we as business owners and leaders can take that money and reinvest. We can put it towards marketing. We could bonus people. We can do whatever we want. Mm-hmm.
Also, as we know, things always are going up. It's just the way of the world.
Right. And I like it just because it keeps it consistent. Yeah. The price is the price, and that's it. So you know exactly what you're looking at.
I would agree.
What about... Also, so I have in my notes, it's literally how almost the entire world operates outside of the hair industry.
Well, the hair industry sometimes still
slow
thinks it's 1982.
Oh my God. Remember those books we found?
Yes.
Those were from the early 2000s. Amazing.
They were?
Yeah. That's how dated. So they're books that we found when we built out the salon that were from the early 2000s that looked like they were from
the 80s.
I was going to say 70s, 80s. No, yeah, there was some big hair in there. It was 80s, but they were from early 2000s. That's how far behind the books are 20 years behind.
Yeah.
What about cons? There are some definite cons to hourly pricing, and I don't think that they're necessarily because of hourly pricing. I think one of the major cons is that it's just different.
Yep. And if it's different and you don't understand it, or you haven't coached your staff well enough to explain it, or you haven't coached yourself or worked with a coach enough to understand it, then it becomes a major con because there's a disconnect. And if some people just don't like change anyway, so they're just going to say screw off.
Some people,
and that's just how that goes. But yeah, I think if
you could lower your price and some people would get pissed. I don't like change. Why are you doing this?
Right. But yeah, I think it's just really understanding it and explaining it well. And this comes back into like, if you're not having those really hard consultations at the beginning of the service, then anytime you have a price increase or anytime you do anything different, it's going to be a hard conversation for you because you're not used to having them ever. I feel every client I have most of them a long-term relationship with. So it was exhausting having a lot of conversations, but I was happy to explain to them what we were doing, why we were doing it. And also like if my price point wasn't for them anymore, I wanted to introduce them who they could now see and who would take care of them.
That was the other con that I had, was just that it's exhausting to re-educate all of your clients. If you have an existing client base, you have to explain it, and then you're going to have that reactivity because they're going to question you. And we say this a lot. They're questioning you because they don't understand, not necessarily because
most of the time it was just they were processing.
Yeah, they're just thinking and working through a new idea.
Sometimes even was like, I don't like this hourly pricing. And for one client, it made it less expensive. So I'm like,
yeah, you do.
Okay. I don't even know what you're talking about. But, that's the way of the world. Like you said, it could be less expensive. And they're like, I don't like this. I'm like, oh, okay.
Anything else? I think that's all I have.
No, I think the biggest thing is, take a look at what you're doing with your pricing structure in your business. And is it working? And
does it follow your core principles?
Yeah. Does it align with everything you are putting yourself out there to be?
Have you ever even asked these questions?
And if you are willing to maybe take a dabble and be like, what would it look like if I did hourly pricing? What other struggles did you guys have? Reach out. Todd and I am so honest to a fault probably at times, but if you want to take a conversation and have a chat and explore it, Todd and I can go through every step that we went through.
You're not honest to a fault. I wouldn't say it's a fault. So sometimes I think you might give someone something they're not necessarily ready to hear.
Okay.
Like they're processing one thing and you're still laying on stuff and it gets very
going and going.
So you're not acknowledging the fact that person's going to react to you.
And they need a pause.
Yes.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. But we're here to help. So if you
for sure
want to,
and I love the topic.
It's good. And even if it's just to explore it, and then you either take the action or you don't, and that's your choice. But I think it's great to explore new ideas and then, take your time to pause and think about it. And this is one that I really would challenge you in your business to take a look at and see
what do you really have to lose by looking at it?
Yeah, and explore it and see what is going on.
It's going to help stabilize your business in the long run, period. And you're going to make more money.
Yep. And it makes when you do raise your prices, it makes it very easy to do. And it's
Across
very
the
clear.
Board.
Yeah.
Done.
Yep. I love it.
All right. Let's wrap on that. Thanks for listening to the Hello Hair Pro podcast.
Subscribe,
comment. Find us on YouTube. I'll put it all in the show notes. Thank you.